Harriet Tubman. They called her the Moses of her people. Called her that because she led so many people out of slavery, like the Moses of old. She led them out on what they called the Underground Railroad. Of course, you understand, it wasn't a real railroad at all. It was a network of people who, like Harriet, believed that it was okay for slaves to escape from slavery. 90, 100 miles of walking late at night through swamps, through woods, been chased by dogs sometime. And don't you know, sometimes people would get scared and want to go back, but Harriet, she always kept a 6-shooter strapped to her side underneath her skirt. When they got to getting nervous and scared, she'd pull that 6-shooter out and say, all right, you move on or you'll die. And everybody would move on. She brought over 300 people out of slavery like that on the Underground Railroad and never lost a passenger.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, I am getting tired of the dominant society controlling every aspect of our lives. At some point, it has to end. Never mind the fact that they can shed our blood whenever they feel like it. They control our food. They control our education. And even being in the condition that we're in, they still design programs strictly to attack us, to keep us separated and defeated. And as long as we stay separated, we're going to be defeated. And by now, we should have learned that we can't use reason. You can't talk to somebody and show them they're wrong and hope they change. There's only one thing that'll make them change, and we all know the answer to that. Now, I don't tell you anything but what George Washington told America. And America put his face on a mountain. But if somebody like me was to say it, then you're a threat to America. And they are right. We are the biggest threat to America. After all, what is white supremacy without black inferiority? Back in 1963, a brother named Dr. Robert Hayling started what's known as the St. Augustine Movement down in Florida. Now, this brother was the first black dentist in Florida to be elected to the American Dental Association. And besides using the nonviolent method, this brother believed in and practiced armed self-defense. Now, the KKK used to make death threats against him all the time. But this brother said in public that he and others armed themselves, and they will shoot it out first and ask questions later. This brother said we aren't just going to die like Medgar Evers, because Medgar Evers had just been assassinated. But this brother wasn't just talking. When the Klan tried to attack the black community at night, this brother Robert Hayling and some of the other members of his group ran the Klan off with gunfire. So then later that year, after a Klan rally, they actually kidnapped his brother Robert Hayling and 3 other members of the NAACP, Clyde Jenkins, James Jackson, and James Hauser. They tied these 4 brothers up and beat them with bricks and chains until the police got there. And then the sheriff, L.O. Davis, arrested 4 white people for the beating, but he also arrested the 4 black men who had got kidnapped and beaten. And then, of course, the charges against the Klan members were dropped. But these 4 black men that had been kidnapped and beaten was convicted of criminal assault against the Klan. And today, some of them still wear white sheets, some of them wear business suits, and some of them wear cop uniforms. That's why when a cop beats you up, they come back and charge you with assaulting a cop. And God forbid a black person having a gun. Then we know no matter what happened is your fault. In Louisiana, a brother, Myron Flowers, was shot 8 times after a traffic stop for a broken taillight. And this brother wasn't even driving. So let's go back and see how this brother, Myron Flowers, ended up getting shot and killed.
Well, just days after this man died in an officer-involved shooting, his family is concerned the evidence police have so far is not enough. Scotty Hunter picks things up with what this family says needs to change in East Lousiana Parish.
The family of Myron Flowers is horrified after finding out their loved one was shot multiple times at the hands of 2 law enforcement officers Friday night.
I'm still struggling with the fact that it was multiple shots, and I don't feel that it was necessary.
Preliminary findings of the coroner's report reveal only the cause of death and don't show how many times the 28-year-old was shot. It's one of the burning questions that remain, along with the shock of something like this happening in their community.
We don't want to see any division in this community. I've been living here for 41 years. I have never in all of my life witnessed anything of this magnitude. Not here. We know it happens, but not here.
According to law enforcement, a witness told them Flowers got into a gun battle after a struggle with police during a traffic stop. Officials telling us both Deputy Cullen Wilson and Officer Richard Baudouin fired shots. A look at forensic evidence, though, has not yet determined whether Flowers shot at the officers. Something that could provide more answers, though, just does not exist: body cameras.
Video footage would provide evidence of what actually took place.
There's actually no body camera or dash cam footage of the incident. The only shred of video is surveillance from this business near the scene. Footage, we're told, is not the best quality.
So far as we know, unless somebody comes up with a cell phone video or something, that's the only video.
That's what concerns Flowers' family the most. They worry law enforcement won't have enough to paint a total picture of what happened, and say body cams could show much more.
Because there isn't a lot. The only thing they have is a video surveillance from the health center. There isn't anything else.
The sheriff's office tells us body and dash cams would be ideal, but they simply don't have it in their budget. In a statement, though, a spokesman tells WAFB they have discussed it, and if things change financially, they will reconsider.
I think they should. I think it's necessary.
A necessary tool that unfortunately is not available in this case. In Clinton, Scotty Hunter, WAFB 9 News.
Thank you, Scotty. Now, as part of this report, we actually reached out to other area sheriff's office to find out if body cameras are among those tools. Here's what we found. Most of our surrounding sheriff's offices do not have body cameras. That includes East and West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, East and West Feliciana Parish Sheriff's Office, Livingston, Ascension, and Iberville parishes. However, many city police departments within these parishes, like Baton Rouge, are equipped with cameras.
Now, this brother, Myron Flowers, was riding in the back seat of a car, and the police pulled him over for a broken taillight. Now, the cop, Cullen Wilson, ended up telling the driver to get out the car and asked if he could search the car. And for whatever reason, and I don't know if he did or not, but this brother said yes. And technically, when a cop asks, you do not have to let them search your car. But I'm not going to act like the law applies to us equally or fairly. And at the end of the day, while the system exists, they can pretty much do whatever they want. So as the cop and his partner, Robert Bourdain, were searching the car, they said when they started to question his brother, Myron Flowers, and I don't know why they were questioning him, they noticed that he had a gun. Now, in Louisiana, you can't get a concealed permit, and they don't know if his gun is legit. All they know is it's a black man with a gun. Now, of course, there's the Second Amendment, but the Second Amendment was never meant to apply to us. And with no body camera, we don't know what happened. We don't know how fast they shot him. But this cop, Cullen Wilson, ended up firing 6 shots, and his partner, Richard Bourdain, fired another 2. Now, the police claim a witness said that this brother was shooting back. But keep in mind, the police can be each other's witnesses. And before they could start actually pretending to investigate, they were already caping for these cops and justifying this brother's murder.
Back on the clock, less than a month after he was involved in a traffic stop that left a man dead. The investigation is still open, but for now, he's back at work. Scotty Hunter has this one.
Less than 3 weeks after Myron Flowers was shot and killed during a traffic stop in Clinton, one of the officers involved, East Feliciana Deputy Cullen Wilson, is back on the job.
He's returned to duty, but I wouldn't be able to comment any further on what his assignment is.
The sheriff's office has already cleared the deputy to be back on the clock. At the same time, they're still reviewing forensic evidence.
Was there a certain reason as of why Monday he was able to return back to work?
No particular reason. We just felt it was appropriate to bring him back.
It's completely premature.
There's still a lot we don't yet know about the case, like which officer fired the fatal shots or whether Flowers actually used either of the 2 guns investigators tell us he had on him at the time of the stop. It's why the attorneys who represent the Flowers family find the decision troubling.
While this investigation is going on, for them to just essentially give a rubber stamp of approval is irresponsible. It taints potential jurors that are out there. It taints public opinion.
We continue to ask the question, why? Why is there this rush to allow this individual to go back?
No justice! No justice!
As the calls for transparency and accountability grow, these attorneys believe this decision does very little to calm an already fragile situation. But the sheriff's office maintains the deputy did follow the law.
What is it that led you guys to have that determination at this point?
The evidence that we have in our possession.
With no body camera or dash cam footage, the only video of the encounter is from this business near the scene. Investigators, though, have already said the quality of the video isn't good. Just one more reason these attorneys argue there just is not enough to justify having this officer back on duty.
How can anyone rationally come to the conclusion that this thing is open and shut?
Well, I think what you want to know is you want to have a reasonable conclusion that the officer acted legally, and we believe that he did act legally.
Now, at this point, there's still no timeline on when the investigation will be over and when it will head to the DA. I did speak with the Clinton police chief tonight, who tells me the other officer involved, Richard Baudouin, is still on leave.
Now, of course, they're going to stay on code. And even though they claim to be investigating, and they don't actually know which cop killed this brother, but in less than 3 weeks after this brother was murdered, the cop Cullen Wilson, who started the whole thing, is right back on the job during an open investigation. But obviously, they were going to clear him no matter what happened. And when they tested the gun, it turns out this brother never even shot back. So whatever witness they used to help clear the cop was wrong. But still, despite all the evidence, a secret grand jury cleared both of these cops of any wrongdoing.
Well, now that a grand jury has decided not to prosecute 2 East Louisiana law enforcement officers following a deadly traffic stop, we're getting a better look at some of the surveillance video that was used to reach a decision in that case.
The video is graphic, so we've chosen only to show you certain parts on television. You can watch the entire video on our website. It's the moments leading up to Myron Flowers' death, and it has reaction tonight on the grand jury's decision.
For the first time, this surveillance video from a store at the scene provides a better idea of what happened during a deadly encounter between Myron Flowers and 2 officers in Clinton. The 28-year-old was in the back seat of this Chevy Tahoe that was pulled over back in April for a busted taillight. East Louisiana Deputy Cullen Wilson made the stop, and you see here Clinton police officer Richard Baudouin arrived for backup. At some point, the video shows Deputy Wilson ask the driver to get out of the truck.
Police officer walks up to the car, escorts the driver to the back of the car, shows the driver on the back of the car the reason for the traffic stop.
District Attorney Sam DeQuilla says that's when the deputy asks the driver to search the truck. During the search, Wilson shines a light inside, and that's when he told investigators he noticed a gun. A brief struggle breaks out, and moments later, the officer opened fire.
You see the suspect, he falls to the ground, he's appears to have something in his hands, and then he appears to wave something while he's on the ground at the other officer.
The investigation reveals Wilson shot 6 times and Baudouin fired twice. While police say Flowers did have 2 stolen weapons on him at the time, ballistic evidence shows he never fired any shots.
This isn't normal. Traffic stops don't end in people dying. Searches during traffic stops typically don't lead to people dying.
Attorney Ron Hayling, who is not involved in the case but has worked closely with other officer-involved shooting cases, believes there is just not enough evidence for a grand jury to make the decision not to move forward with charges. Tonight, he questions why things escalated so quickly.
What was the interaction between the initial officer who was doing the search and Mr. Flowers for this confrontation to happen?
In a statement, the sheriff's office applauded the grand jury decision, saying they've always been confident that the deputy's actions were legal, adding that they can now put it behind them and continue to focus on serving the public. Still, Hayling believes changes must be made to prevent something like this from happening again.
The body cam would show it all, and I think in this case that would be helpful.
Now, in this system, our blood being shed is not wrong. And the police said only the cop Cullen Wilson's bullets hit this brother. And he was reinstated after 3 weeks. And the cop already knew who this brother was. And they tried to bring up this brother's drug charges to justify his murder. And of course, with no body camera, we don't know what really happened. What we do know is the same story over and over and over again. And at some point, enough has to be enough. If them controlling every aspect of our lives isn't enough, them taxing us whenever and however they want, them controlling our food, controlling what we learn and what we don't learn, and trying to control what we can watch and not watch. If that's not enough to make us start doing something, maybe seeing them shed our blood like this will. Because at the end of the day, at any time, it could be any one of us. And until we get on code and do what we have to do and put aside our petty differences, then the same thing is going to keep happening over and over and over again.
Coming back here like a fucking 100 times. I am so mad. I am so fucking mad at these people. They don't do this to fucking me. We're gonna fucking ritualistically humiliate them. I am coming back here every fucking weekend if I have to. Like, this is never over. I win, they fucking lose. That's how the world fucking works. Little fucking kikes. Think macaroons. My ancestors fucking enslaved those pieces of fucking shit. We're gonna win. I rule the fucking world. Those pieces of shit get ruled by people like me. They look up and see a face like mine looking down at them. That's how the fucking world works. We are gonna destroy this fucking town.
Opportunities limitless, possibilities senseless. What will you do? Millions of people, not enough to eat. What will we do? With AI, Microsoft technology, the future is up to you. You can do it. With AI, the future will blow your mind.
It's a question a South Bay school community is asking. What was he thinking? A teacher wearing blackface in class.
Millions of people, not enough to eat. What will we do? With AI, Microsoft technology, the future is up to you.
Students say it happened as part of the teacher's Halloween costume at Milpitas High School. KPX 5 is live in Milpitas with reaction from both students and administrators here. Devin?
Yeah, ill-advised, insensitive, ignorant, oblivious. Those are just some of the terms that have been used to describe this teacher's decision to don blackface as part of his Halloween costume here at Milpitas High School. And now his job is in jeopardy, and an entire school community has been dragged into a difficult and uncomfortable conversation about race.
Millions of people, not enough to eat. What will we do?
Students at Milpitas High School say the teacher had discussed the costume meant to look like African-American rapper and activist Common well before Halloween.
Mr. Carter has been planning this costume for about a month.
It is not clear, however, when the teacher, who is white, decided to add blackface to the outfit.
There are a couple people of color in that class, and despite feedback for him to not do that costume, he still persisted.
With AI, the future will blow your mind.
But it was this video posted on Twitter that found an outraged audience. Students, parents, and district officials describing it as hurtful, tone-deaf, and insensitive.
To hear that this happened at the high school, I was like, I can't believe it. It was astonishing. It was disappointing.
School board president Chris Norwood says the teacher has been removed from the classroom and placed on administrative leave while the district investigates the incident. It is too soon, he says, to decide if the teacher will lose or keep his job.
Schools are supposed to be safe. Classrooms are supposed to be safe. And that's what they're asking for. That's what they demand, and it's our responsibility to give it to them.
Students, however, say a return to the classroom or the school for the teacher would be difficult.
I don't think he should be able to come back because a lot of people are already taking offense to him. And so I think people might treat him a different way because of what he did now. So I don't think this would be like a good environment for him to be in.
Now, school officials held a voluntary meeting during the lunch hour for students to attend. They say one of the most powerful things that they heard from a student was, my hair, my skin, it's not a costume. It's not a mask to be worn either in mockery or celebration. And many say they wish this teacher had heard or listened to that message before he did what he did.
The teacher on Halloween decided to go into blackface as you doing your Microsoft commercial, you know, like famous thing.
Well, I think it's important, man, that that teachers and people who are educating our children are well educated themselves on things that deal with history, culture, emotional history, and emotional intelligence is important. I think we need to look at the teacher, the administration, and people that we have leading our children in classrooms and make sure they fully equipped, not just with academic things, but also like have emotional intelligence and understanding. And I think maybe that's something that we start implementing into our schools. In all truth, man, I want to do something at that school. Like I'm headed right now to that area. I might go up to the school.
Smack me. I want you to. Smack me. Do it. Do it. Do it. Smack me. Smack me. Smack me. You bought the sister. I'll dust your paper line, 80 hoe. I'm going to fuck back to being my female. Let me tell you something. You don't act like that. Put a phone there. Come on that way.
Hey, you say, hey, you in the wrong place. Hey, you in the wrong place saying the N word, though.
You are. Get out.
Yeah, I gotta go and put her out. She gotta go. Put her out.
And what was that? Your money to get out. Before I call the law on you and forcefully remove you. Lady, have the law with my family. So I don't give a damn if you follow your family. Bring it.
Yeah, she go. Oh shit. Damn. Golly. Oh.
Another incident of violence erupts at a Popeyes fried chicken restaurant. This one caught on camera in Columbia, Tennessee. It's now the subject of a police investigation. Witnesses say it began earlier inside the Popeyes when the woman was disputing a charge on her bill. A heated argument began between the customer and several Popeyes employees.
Put her out.
And what was that? Your money to get out. Before I call the law on you and forcefully remove you.
Employees told the woman to leave the restaurant, and they say the customer then used the N-word.
Hey, you in the wrong place saying the N-word, though.
If she said something that she regrets, it doesn't give a grown man the right to chase her into the parking lot as she's trying to leave the store and slam a 55-year-old grandmother down on the concrete.
That customer's attorney also sharing this x-ray and says she suffered 9 fractures, including 6 broken ribs and a broken knee. Police arrested 29-year-old Darius Hughes. He's facing aggravated assault charges in this case.
Fuck you, man! Shut up! I told you, you piece of shit! Dog me, motherfucker! Dog me, nigga! Come on, nigga! Dog me, nigga! Come on, you motherfucker! Come on, piece of shit!
He just said...
Fuck is your goddamn problem?
Did he just say...
Huh? You wanna be a motherfucker, man? You want to fucking kick your fucking ass! You piece of shit! You're right, I want it! You're right, nigga! If you started, shut the fuck up! Piece of motherfucking
you
shit!
Bruh, JoJo said he don't got it for you. He said he don't got it for you, bruh.
Piece of motherfucking shit! Fucking nigger ass motherfucker! Get the fuck out of my way! I don't care! You know what? Ignorant!
You get whooped! He whooping him! He whooping him! What you calling that nigga?
Hey, go on!
Oh! They whooping him! They whooping him!
You in my hood, cuz!
Hey, smack him! Smack him, bro! Hey, ass nigga!
You in my hood! Say sorry! Say sorry! Say sorry right now! I'm sorry!
Exactly!
Say it again! Say it again! Say the fucking again, you dirty ass bitch! Say the motherfucking again! I am a nigger! I am a nigger, bitch! Say it again! Say it again! I dare you to say it! I dare you to motherfucking say it! Call who you want to call!
Has this happened to you, like, other than this incident, has this happened to you in recent memory? Because it's just shocking to me.
No, it was shocking to me too. I was totally baffled and confused. This has never happened to me. I was totally like thrown off. And that wasn't what happened. I didn't bump into her. I didn't bump into her in the store. I actually was in the store shopping, and I was walking in and out. I was just shopping. This lady was way across in the kids section, like shopping with clothes, and she was just crying. She was boohoo crying, and I just looked over and was like, "Oh, hi, are you okay?" and she looked up like a demon, demonic, very evil, satanic witch. And she was like, "Get away from me, you nigger bitch." And I looked and
Wow. So wait,
I was a little like confused a bit, and then I walked away, and then I turned around like, wait a minute, and I looked at the guys that were stocking up like the racks, and I was like, did you see what she said? And the guy was like, did I think she said what I think she said? And I was like, yeah. And I turned around and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so I kept on moving around, and there was so many people coming up like, yo, this is so crazy. We heard her, we heard her. As I got ready to walk towards the register, I saw her again walking, just strolling through the aisle, nothing in her basket. And as I got to the register, my friend said, you owe my friend an apology. And that's when she just looked around acting belligerent, like, why are you guys asking me anything? I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, say it again. You called me a nigger, and I am a nigger, one that will whoop your ass.
Do you think that what happened to you in that Walmart has any connection to the political climate and what's going on right now?
I'm probably, and I don't know, but I'm going to tell you this. This is not the 1800s. This is not the slavery days. There's no slaves here. We're almost in 2020. You will get your ass whooped. So stop trying it. I don't care about no political anything. I live in that area, in a very nice area. That nigger, racist, all that. I don't do racial slurs. I'm not disrespectful. This is not going to happen. We're not slaves, and you're going to get your ass whooped. Anybody next time that call me anything outside of my name.
I said you were talking crazy. You stupid fucking
nigger.
nigger.
Okay.
Did you get it that time?
I did.
I said nigger.
Okay, cool. This nigga right here. Wow, y'all. I didn't even do anything. Didn't even do anything, y'all. This man right here. This man right here. Yep. Right here. Called me a fucking nigger. Oh my gosh. This is what we living in today. This is what we are living in today. And I'm gonna record this whole thing. Never called this man out his name. Never called this man out his name or anything. Never called him out his name or anything. Wow. I got his license plate. I got his truck. Wow. That shows you. And you know what? I'm not going to let this man mess up my Sunday. He's not going to get to me. But it just shows you that we're still living in this time period, y'all. Like, we still going through racism. Shit's crazy. Old ass man talking to a young black female like that. Sad.
Seconds of fame in the wrong way. That ruined the last 12 years of my career.
One fun night at the bar posted on his Instagram cost John Hoskins his job. It's not what the assistant football coach at Knightdale High School is seen doing causing fallout, but it's what he said.
You just set the record, I'm not racist. I don't mean it in a negative way.
32-year-old says that after a Friday night team win, he was caught up in a celebratory moment with his white and black friends. He says over the years, his black friends said it was okay for him to use the word.
Why is that? I guess, been around them for so long, like, we're friends. Mean nothing from it. The word can be used in multiple ways.
Hoskins deleted the video, but not before someone reported it and shared it with school administrators. Out of fear of being a distraction to the team, Hoskins says the next day he wrote this one-sentence letter to the school's principal and head coach, resigning. Hoskins says football players on the majority black team also accepted these words.
And your players are okay with you saying white power and the N-word?
They joke around, like we joke around, they walk to me and say it, and then hey coach, just say it, you're good coach, just say it. And it's once in a while it slips, like once a year, maybe let it slip, to have them smile and laugh. But besides that, I mean nothing from it.
Tonight, the school district superintendent lashing out.
The language, the context, it's not okay. And unfortunately, social media will show you a piece of something but not all of something, and this man is an adult and he should know better.
Wake County Schools says that Hoskins' remarks violated policy. Now, parents at the school will be notified about this situation. The school district says that it will continue to tweak and follow through with their policy on equity and inclusion, which will involve parents, teachers, staff, and students.
A high school student photographed wearing a blackface costume at a Halloween party in North Jersey. School officials at Watchung Hills Regional High School offered voluntary diversity awareness discussions after the incident. The photo was circulated on social media showing a white student in black makeup standing next to another white student wearing a cowboy hat. The pair were reportedly described as a slave and slave owner. In a letter posted to the district website, Watchung Hills Regional Superintendent Elizabeth Jewett said the school would engage in, quote, difficult conversations around diversity, equity, tolerance, and inclusion within our district and the community at large. We wondered why the sessions were optional, so we reached out to Jewett via email, and she did not respond directly on that point. Administrators would not say whether the students faced discipline. About 150 students participated in Wednesday's optional discussions with administrators.
I want to break down for you right now a case of almost impossible to comprehend human cruelty, and it has to do with Bobby Paul Edwards. Prosecutors say that he, a man who managed his family's restaurant, forced Chris Smith, an intellectually disabled black man, to work for free and live in a small room behind that restaurant. Court documents show that Edwards physically abused Smith for at least 17 years, including whipping him with a belt, beating him with pots and pans, and burning him with hot grease. Chris Smith started at the restaurant when he was only 12 years old, but later when Edwards took over as manager, he decided to stop paying Smith, saying that instead he was keeping the pay in an account that Smith could not access. Now you might wonder, how was this a situation that could be sustained? Well, when Smith's family would try to check on him, Edwards would lock Smith in the kitchen or even in the freezer. If Smith tried to escape, he would be beaten with a frying pan, burned with hot tongs, beaten with belt buckles while racial slurs were yelled at him repeatedly. Customers apparently heard some of this, and it still went on for years and years and years. Chris Smith said, "I wanted to get out of there a long time ago, but I didn't have nobody I could go to. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't see none of my family, so that was that. That's the main basic thing I wanted to see was my mom to come see me." And so after all of this was revealed and all of it was proven, Edwards was sentenced to 10 years. And he's gonna have to pay some money in restitution. Depending on when you define the beginning of it, he effectively enslaved this man, kidnapped him, would not let him go while he beat him for 17 to 23 years, and he got a 10-year sentence.
There's a picture of a Mississippi voter who wore a racist t-shirt with a noose to the polls yesterday. That picture is going viral tonight, and wait until you hear who he is. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Ransom.
And I'm Katina Rankin. Take a look. This is the photograph everyone is talking about. And tonight, Local 24 News has learned the man wearing the Confederate flag with the noose and the words Mississippi Justice. He's a former Memphis police officer who works as an EMT with the Regional 1. Here's Local I-Team senior investigator Jenny DePrizio.
This is the picture that people are talking about. A man wearing a shirt with the Confederate flag with a noose in the middle of it and the words Mississippi Justice. Election Commissioner Barry Chatham wants to make it clear that this was not a DeSoto County poll worker. He learned about it after the picture was posted on social media.
Well, I was shocked when I saw it, but there wasn't anything that we could do.
Chatham says while the shirt's in bad taste, the man had a right to wear it. Chatham says Mississippi law only bans people from wearing campaign material if a candidate's name is on the ballot.
As far as I can tell, the guy wearing the t-shirt wasn't violating the law. We don't have any law against wearing, that's his expression.
Chatham says the person who took the picture is the person who broke the law. He says cameras aren't allowed into DeSoto County polling places.
We post signs that no cell phones are allowed, and that is for the reason of pictures. You're not supposed to be taking pictures inside a polling place.
People online identified the man in the picture as Clayton Hickey, a former Memphis police officer who resigned after being arrested when he was caught with open alcohol and a 17-year-old girl. Currently, Hickey has his EMT license. We went to his Olive Branch, Mississippi home to ask why he wore that shirt, but no one would answer the door. The person who took the picture says he felt threatened and offended. To that, Chatham says,
"I'm sorry it happened. I apologize to anybody who's offended, but What can we do?
The person who took the photo says he doesn't want to be identified because he's now concerned about his safety. Jenny DiPrizio, Local 24 News.
By the way, Regional One Health released a statement on Twitter this evening. It says in part that all allegations of inappropriate behavior involving employees are reviewed and investigated. We are aware of a photograph in circulation. We are investigating and will take appropriate action.
Is it okay to say the N-word?
Yes! No! Yes! No! Yes! No! Yes!
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'm not even gonna say the N-word, you fucking black guy!
All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, everybody feels like they can disrespect us because we allow it. And you can't allow somebody to come in and disrespect your women, disrespect your children, disrespect your elderly, or disrespect the men either. But no matter what everybody else does to us, we're so quick to forgive them. But when it comes to our own, we find every excuse not to. And they did a good job of beating that mindset into us. But we're not as far away to being on code as they would like us to believe. Just here in America, we've done it time and time again. But this time, we just have to be prepared for their retaliation because it's their job to keep us in this position by any means necessary. But every step of the way, we have always fought back. Back in 1917 in Chester, Pennsylvania, a race riot broke out after a white man disrespected a black woman and a black man came to her defense. Now, this white dude, William McKinney, started everything when he was passing 2 black men and 2 black women on the street. Now, as he was passing them, he made a disrespectful comment to one of the black women. And when one of the black men stood up for her, they ended up getting into a fight. Now, during the fight, the black man ended up stabbing the white boy to death. So then they ended up arresting his brother. And the mob of several hundred people started marching the street trying to get revenge on his brother. And they started attacking any black person they saw, man, woman, or child. They were stopping cars, pulling out black people and beating them up. And at least 80 people got injured, some severely. Now, the lynch mob kept attacking the black community throughout the week until black residents finally got fed up and started fighting back. Now, as soon as black people started fighting back, then the police got involved. And over 360 people were arrested and brought to trial, mostly black people. By the end of the riot, 4 people were killed and hundreds were injured. But the black community realized that the violence would continue until they fought back. And as soon as they fought back, that's when the violence ended. Now, they don't necessarily have lynch mobs like they used to, but they can still be as violent as they want to be. But as soon as you fight back, now you're crossing the line. Now it's time for forgiveness and everything is in the past. But then they still turn around and kill you and make up any excuse and justify it. In Kansas City, a brother, Terrance Bridges, who was unarmed, was shot and killed by Kansas City police. Now let's try to figure out exactly what happened to this brother.
We do begin in Kansas City, Missouri, where a domestic situation ends with police killing a man. The shooting happened at Bell Fountain and Gregory. 41 Action News reporter Jordan Betts has the story.
Overnight chaos in Kansas City. It all started with a call to police that there was a domestic violence situation involving a gun.
The calling party relayed quite a chaotic scene. They said that there were several people out on the street fighting.
Witnesses say a potentially armed man arrived at a home on the street and started to fight another man and woman.
The altercation involved what was believed to be a kidnapping attempt, as well as a carjacking attempt.
The victim fought off the suspect, and the potentially armed man got away with stealing a car, returning minutes later.
The officer that was there by himself tried to take that subject into custody at that point. He ran from the officer and resisted attempts to be taken into custody.
The two struggled. That's when the officer shot him.
Officers rendered first aid to the subject, and EMS responded here to the scene. They transported him to the hospital, where he was pronounced deceased by medical personnel there at the hospital.
Neighbors off camera told us the man was shot on the sidewalk in front of this house. This is the second officer-involved shooting with KCPD this year. In 2018, they had 15 officer-involved shootings, and some were deadly. Due to department policy, the officer is now taken off patrol.
Routine administrative leave for the purposes of conducting the investigation to gather all of the information and all of that, and that is 100% routine in cases like this.
They covering it up. I want answers. Period. I want answers.
A mother shares her painful plea for answers tonight, less than 24 hours after her son was shot and killed in a struggle with a Kansas City police officer. The KCPD and Jackson County Prosecutor's Office are investigating what led up to that fatal exchange just after midnight. Tonight, KCTV5's Caroline Sweeney met the man's grieving family as they begged for answers and shares what we know so far.
Shooting, police are being security for.
I was yelling across the street like, Million, don't give up, Million, don't give up.
Overnight, this quiet neighborhood near 71 Highway was anything but.
Call says the female came to the house and asked for call 911.
This is Terrance Bridges. He was shot by police after midnight Sunday morning. Bridges moved to Kansas City from Chicago 7 months ago.
He got killed for nothing. They took his life for nothing.
Right now, police say they were called to Bell Fountain because of a domestic disturbance. Bridges allegedly stole a car at gunpoint, left, and came back. Then, police say he ran when they tried to arrest him. Kansas City, Missouri police say Terrance Bridges ran the length of this block, nearly 480 feet, before he was shot.
For them to just take his life like that, I need answers. I need proof. I need something.
Police in the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office are investigating. Police say Bridges did have a gun. The family disagrees.
He wasn't armed. He wasn't a threat. I need answers. That's my child. They murdered him.
The officer was stationed at Metro Patrol. They were not hurt. The prosecutor's office tells KCTV5 News a special unit inside KCPD will investigate.
So the police said they were called to a domestic disturbance with a gun involved. And when the police got there, they said a woman told them that a man was trying to break into their home and then stole her car and kidnapped her husband. So then the police said 2 of them went looking for the stolen car. And one of the cops, Dylan Pifer, stayed behind. So then a few minutes later, this brother Terrance Bridges comes walking back on the scene. Now keep in mind, the police are looking for somebody that stole a car and kidnapped somebody. But they claim this brother who came back a few minutes later walking was one of the suspects, even though he came back to the scene without a car or even the car keys. And then without any evidence, the cop Dylan Pifer tried to arrest him. But the cop claimed his brother took off running. So then the cop said when he caught up to him and tried to arrest him, they got into a struggle. And he said after they got into an altercation, he had no other choice but to open fire on his brother. Now they tried to say this brother Terrance Bridges had a gun, but his family said that isn't true. And the police aren't really clear about their story or what evidence they have. And their story doesn't even really make sense.
The family of a man shot and killed by a Kansas City police officer say you haven't been told the truth about his death, and they're demanding changes. The Kansas City Police Department insists it has not misled anyone about the death of Terrance Bridges. KCTV5's Emily Rittman reports on the family's plea for action and the police department's reaction.
What we know is that Terrance Bridges was shot to death by a Kansas City, Missouri police officer on May 26th. His family is challenging the police account of what happened leading up to that.
Wake up! Yeah. Wake up! Yeah, doctor. Too many people in our community are being murdered.
His family says Terrance Bridges moved here to escape the violence that was taking place in Chicago. Kansas City police say just after midnight on May 26th, officers responded to a report of an armed disturbance. A woman at a home on Bell Fountain told police a man had kidnapped her husband and carjacked their car. Several 911 callers told dispatchers a man with a gun forced his way into a home. While police were investigating, officers say Bridges returned a short time later. That's when an officer tried to arrest him. Bridges ran and the officer shot him.
I just pray we get justice.
Today, his family returned to the scene where he died. They say Bridges did not have a gun. Police have not said whether they found a weapon. So far, they are only confirming that initial reports stated that Bridges was armed.
An officer shot Mr. Bridges with no prior interaction, to our knowledge, not even a command. Mr. Bridges did not have a weapon on him. If this happened among 2 people in the street, this would be called murder.
Due to the ongoing Jackson County prosecutor's investigation into the shooting, police say they cannot discuss specific details about the shooting itself, which would include what interaction happened between Bridges and the officer prior to the shooting. Bridges' father says the family just wants answers.
I hear a few different stories, and all we're asking for is justice, answers, and most of all, I just want the truth. so I can have a peace of mind at night.
A cousin of another man shot and killed by police 2 years ago says it's time for the community to pay attention.
This is happening right here in your city, and it seems like you don't even care.
In a written statement, Kansas City police say no police officer ever wants to be put in a situation in which they must decide whether to use deadly force.
In that statement, the police department said, quote, "We understand the grief that the family of Terrance Bridges feel, saying their pain is real." They went on to say there has been no attempt to mislead the public. The Jackson County Prosecutor's Office is still reviewing the shooting and will determine if the shooting was justified or not.
Now, the cop Dylan Pifer claimed he and his brother got into a physical altercation. But it turns out there is no evidence that ever happened. And there's audio of this brother saying he doesn't have anything, and then asking why he was shot. And when the cop made it seem like this brother was attacking him, Terrence Bridges said, "I never attacked you," seconds before he died. Then on top of that, it turns out it was never a robbery. This brother Terrence Bridges and his girlfriend got into an argument. And as his brother was leaving in the car that he and his girlfriend share, one of his neighbors called the police. There was no gun, there was no robbery. But within 30 seconds of this brother walking back, coming on foot, despite being accused of stealing a car, he was shot and killed by this cop. This cop never ID'd himself and never even gave him any verbal commands. But he claimed his brother took off running and then they got into a fight before he shot him. And after just a 9-day paid vacation, this cop Dylan Pifer is right back on the streets patrolling.
An officer shot and killed Terrance Bridges back in May after police went to 70th and Bell Fountain in Kansas City on a call about a domestic disturbance between Bridges and his girlfriend. The officer who shot Bridges said he thought Bridges had a weapon, but no weapon was ever found at the scene. Court documents show the officer did not identify himself or tell Bridges to put his hands up before firing. A grand jury declined to indict the officer, and prosecutor Jean Peters Baker said she does not have enough evidence or witnesses to file charges against the officer. Bridges' father says he still hopes for justice in his son's death.
He's gone, and the fact of me being a dad, I can't do anything, I'm not trying to do anything as far as, I'm trying to react as far as get revenge, but, some type of justice should be served, and it hurts, it really hurts. I just want that officer to put himself in my shoes. That's it.
The officer who killed Bridges still works for KCPD in patrol. Terrance Bridges Sr. says the family is now considering filing a civil lawsuit.
A grand jury has decided not to indict a Kansas City police officer who shot and killed a man in May. Terrance Bridges was killed near 70th and Bell Fountain. KCTV5's Betsy Webster just spoke with his mother, and she joins us now live from the courthouse. Betsy?
Well, Brad, she says she was heartbroken by the grand jury's decision, which was made even worse by the fact that because it was a grand jury, by state law, those proceedings were private, closed. So she won't get the answers she'd been waiting for, and we won't know what evidence the grand jury had to inform its decision.
Should have been able to speak in his behalf.
We met up with Britannia McGee at a Comfort Inn. She drove here from Chicago because she knew the case was coming to court here. She didn't know until she got here that she couldn't be a part of that. So when she got a call from the prosecutor's office about the decision today, asking to meet with her, she said no.
I don't feel the need to meet with him for what? Y'all made y'all decision already. There's nothing to talk about.
Her son, Terrance Bridges, was 30 when he was killed by police. He'd moved to KC from Chicago less than a year ago. Police say they came to 70th and Bell Fountain that night on a report of an armed home invasion and carjacking. They say an officer shot him during a struggle when they tried to arrest him. They would not say whether they found a weapon on him or detail the specifics of the struggle that justified the shooting. Last month, social justice leaders rallied, demanding the officer be charged, saying Bridges did not have a gun, questioning the entire police account.
What if somebody out of uniform killed one of them? They going to jail.
This was her 5th visit to KC to make her voice heard. And though she doesn't know exactly how,
I'm going to keep fighting for my son. I'm going to get justice for my son. I'm not stopping right here.
Now, it is worth noting that the very same prosecutor's office, the Jackson County prosecutor, did recently charge a law enforcement officer. She charged a sheriff's deputy in a shooting of a woman who survived. Now, that decision, however, was something that was made by the prosecutor herself. So the evidence that she looked at to make that decision was public. We're still waiting to hear whether she will address why this time she chose a grand jury.
Now, of course, this cop won't face any charges thanks to a secret grand jury, and the prosecutor, Gene Baker, claimed there wasn't enough evidence to charge this cop. Even though this cop lied and his brother wasn't armed, and you know if he was, that's the first thing they would have said. To them, this one cop coming home is worth all of our lives. But until we can learn how to start defending each other and standing up for each other and learning how to stay on code, then people can target us anytime they want to and get away with it. We are the only ones that can stop that from happening. And at the end of the day, we are all we got. And until we take action by any means necessary, then we're going to experience the same thing over and over and over again.
On BART. I'm on the
You're not on BART.
I just explained to you that you were detained. Go, bro. Did I not? Bro, let go. You are detained and you're not go. Let go, bro. You came up here and with me. You singled me out of all these people. You're eating. Bro, so what? It's against the law. So what? I tried to explain that to you. It's a violation of California law. I have the right to detain you. No, you don't. Yes, I do. Can you please let my backpack go? Are you going to cooperate?
Yeah,
So you cooperate and leave me the alone? You're going to go into jail. I'm not going to jail for eating a sandwich? No, for resisting arrest. I'm not resisting arrest. You are resisting. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. You can argue that. I've done nothing wrong. Let my bag go.
Just let
my bag go, bro. What are you, bro? What is you doing, bro? Let my bag go. Platform is uncooperative. Somebody cover you. Bro, bring them up here then.
Stop.
I'm not doing nothing. I'm gonna continue my sandwich, bro. I do this every morning. Every morning, bro. Let my bag go.
Yeah, why is there a store downstairs selling food if we're not allowed to eat up here?
Why is there a store downstairs?
And does it not say on, there's no signs here that mark that we can't eat on the platform? Where is there a sign up here that says we can't eat on the platform? Where is there a sign up here? Where is there a sign up here, sir? Excuse me. Where is a sign up here that says that we can't eat on the platform? We know that we can't eat on the train.
People come up here and eat every day, drinking coffee and all that. Let my bag go, bro.
Is there a chance
you ain't got no, bro? You ain't got no, bro. You ain't got no reasonable cause to fuck with me.
Is there a chance you could allow me to talk?
Bro, let go of my bag.
You are detained and you're not free to go.
I'm not detained.
You're
I haven't done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong.
You are detained.
You're
under arrest. You're going to jail, my man.
Detained for what?
For eating. It's illegal. It's a violation of California law. I've already said that. Yeah.
I do this shit every morning, bro. Watch out.
Just trying to go to work. Trying to go to work, eating a sandwich at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Bro, let my bag go.
Do you want to cooperate or not?
I've been standing here. I went to where? Let my go.
And I asked you for
an ID. You got no right.
I asked you for ID.
You don't need my ID.
I do.
I've done nothing wrong. Dude. I'm not dude.
Where? I don't understand. I didn't know that you can't eat on the platform.
You're not free to go.
I'm not detained, bro. I ain't done nothing wrong.
You're going to end up going to jail.
I've done nothing wrong. Where's your supervisor? I want to talk to your supervisor.
You're welcome to talk to me.
Call him.
Can you call him?
Call him.
Can you call him? We need to talk to
him.
Because we weren't doing anything. Literally just ate a sandwich on the platform and you wanted to come with him. Just because he's eating a sandwich on the platform. All these have eaten on the platform. Maybe not on the train, but on the platform,
bro,
really?
All the way down here
like looking for a reason.
You wanted me to come up here.
I didn't come down here to single you out.
Yes, you did.
You came all the way from down there to single him out because he's eating a sandwich.
I'm eating a sandwich.
You're giving him a ticket for eating?
That's. I left it in my car, but my number and my name is there. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go on about my business.
Well, hang on 1 second for me.
I'm sorry.
You're being detained.
I'm not being detained.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Don't move.
Why am I being detained is the question.
Sir,
why am I being?
We've had a lot of break-ins recently.
But I'm clearly not breaking into anything.
We don't often have people walking up and down driveways.
Because people aren't.
What kind of business is it?
It's not important, sir.
You're in any trouble?
Then I'm gonna go.
No, you're being detained.
You just said I'm not in any trouble. I'm gonna walk away, sir. You just said I'm investing.
Stop walking away.
Why do you keep touching me?
Stop walking away from me.
See, but why am I being detained? That's the question. Because of what?
For an investigation.
Of what? It is Sunday. I'm clearly not breaking into anything.
We don't have many people going up knocking on doors.
Many black people, huh?
Anybody.
Look, I'm not committing any crimes.
Okay.
Then I should not be detained.
Just your name.
It's on the card. You have my card and my number. Yes, sir. Attire Love Jr. Okay. You have a good day, please.
All right, if you quit walking away from
Dude.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to work with you.
You're not. You're trying to bother me.
Absolutely not.
You're clearly trying to bother me.
Not one bit.
What do you need, sir? I just gave you my name and my number. I don't have to give that information to you because I'm not committing any crimes. You and me both know that.
Well, I don't know that.
I just told you what I'm doing. You seen me put my card. I'm going up and down driveways.
Stop for me right there. I honk at you.
I have headphones in my ear. Okay. You're the one causing problems, not me.
How am I causing any problems?
Because you stopped me and I'm obviously minding my own business. I'm not bothering anybody. See, I'm not bothering anybody.
I'm just trying to get a little information.
I just gave you a little information, right? I gave you my card and my name.
What is your date of birth?
I don't have to give you that information, sir.
How about your social?
I don't have to give you that information, sir.
Okay, why not?
Because I'm not committing any crimes. You're saying you're doing an investigation on robberies. I'm clearly not robbing anybody. That's what you said. You said break-ins, robberies. That's the same thing.
Sir, we've had issues with break-ins.
Okay.
Okay, robberies and break-ins are two completely different things.
Well, I'm not doing either one of those.
Okay. 513 Adam, I'm 1086. Okay, sir, what's the deal?
The deal is you're stopping me, and I'm trying to promote my business and make some money. That's it.
What kind of business is
It's not important. You're not curious. You're being a typical police officer to a black guy. That's all it is.
I'm just talking with you.
You have this smirk on your face, and
because you're being ridiculous.
I'm being ridiculous, and so are you.
How am I being ridiculous?
Like, you didn't see me do anything wrong other than walk around. Since when is that a crime, though?
It's not a crime.
Exactly. Then why am I being detained?
Because I'm trying to find out why you're walking up and down.
I just told you. You're backpedaling.
I'm not gonna argue with you, all right?
That's what you're doing. Like, I'm not bothering you. You're bothering me. You're supposed to be serving and protecting, but you're harassing me.
Asking you a few questions, sir.
You're harassing me. I gave you my name and my card. You can look me up on Facebook or in the system or whatever you need to do. I don't have to give you my social, my date of birth, or any of that. I'm not committing any crime, sir. So if you don't mind, I would like to just go on about my business. Please.
If that's what you'd like to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We don't want to drink out in the street anymore? We don't want to drink out in the street?
I don't drink. I'm 3.5 years sober.
You're 3.5 years sober?
3.5 years sober.
Okay, so why do we have an attitude?
Because you keep riding through here, staring at me. I asked you if you have a problem.
It's my job to address conditions in this
What
precinct.
conditions?
Drinking,
What conditions?
congregating on the
I'm
sidewalk.
not drinking. I'm standing here in front of an iPad, not bothering anyone.
It doesn't matter. You can stand in front of an iPad, but you can't drink out here.
I don't drink. What part of 3.5 years sober don't you understand?
I didn't say you were drinking. I'm saying the group you're with was drinking.
I don't see anybody drinking.
Okay.
I don't see anybody drinking. I don't see nobody drinking.
You're lying. There's one right there. There's one over there.
About what happened out here
made it hot
yesterday.
for all your friends that were drinking.
I don't speak that language. Speak to me.
So like
in
I just
proper
told you,
English.
that's why we're here right now.
So that's why you're here.
Because everybody's
All right,
drinking.
so now you can get in your car and leave me alone.
Not. I'm going to hang out right here for a little bit.
Do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Can I see your badge and your ID?
Yep. In fact, it's time to go. You can't congregate in the sidewalk.
I can't congregate on the sidewalk.
Yep.
I can't stand here on the sidewalk. So
Actually, no, you cannot stand by the sidewalk and set it up like it's your living room.
This is not my living room.
I know. So you need to get your stuff off of here, and you need to keep it moving.
I could walk up and down this block all night.
You can.
I could walk
You
up
can
and
walk
down
up
this
and down,
block
but you're
all
not.
night.
You're standing here.
Okay.
You're not walking
Well,
up and
I'll
down.
walk.
So get your stuff, put it in your backpack, and start walking up and down the block.
It's just nothing.
Okay?
It's just people flexing for no reason. That's it, for no reason.
Nah,
this
there's nothing
is
to
my
flex
neighborhood
about. Okay?
where I live.
So get your
all the
stuff
time.
and put it in your laptop, and then you can go. You can't congregate in the
I'm not congregating. I'm sitting down talking to someone.
So
you're
get your
saying-
stuff.
I'll get my stuff. Can
So
I see
do it
your
right now.
ID? Can I see your ID?
You're gonna see my ID.
Yeah, I'd love
Go.
to see your ID.
Okay?
I'd love to see all of your IDs.
Put it inside.
Okay. I'd love
Sir,
to see
let me see
all
your
of
ID.
IDs. That's not a problem at all. Can I see
Drop
your ID?
something and we need your
That's
ID.
not mine. It's not mine.
Okay, then we
Not
need your
mine.
ID.
I'd like to see your ID.
You're gonna have it on your summons.
I would like to see for
Okay?
what?
I
For
just
what?
told you.
For what?
For refusing to move when you're congregating on the sidewalk. You're blocking the sidewalk. Literally, it's not a debate.
You gonna
Let me
give
see
me
your
a
ID.
summons.
Let me see your ID or are you going to
That's perfect.
handcuffs? Let me
That's
see your
perfect.
ID or you're going to handcuffs.
Wait a fucking minute and you'll see my ID.
Let me see your ID.
Wait a minute
You're
and
going
you'll
in
see my
handcuffs.
ID.
I already asked you 3 times.
Nobody cares about your threats. I was locked up on Monday for shutting down the FDR. Nobody cares.
I don't care.
Nobody cares. You do not scare me. You do not scare me. This is my neighborhood. My neighborhood. So write your ticket. Do whatever you do. Have fun. Have fun.
We're not having fun. We're just doing our job.
Doing your job. Riding up and down this block, staring at people. Staring at people. Write your ticket. Write your ticket. Write your ticket. Write your ticket. That's what the problem is. Nobody's scared to go to jail. Nobody gives a fuck about them or their presence. These are our neighborhoods. These are our neighborhoods. We've been here forever. Forever. Write me a ticket.
Forever, huh?
Write me a ticket.
Forever.
Write me. I knew him since I was a kid. Right? Yeah. These are our neighborhoods. Yeah, it happens. Where you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? Where? Nobody got shot in your neighborhood? You never knew anybody who got shot? Stop it. You think you one of these white boys? You not. When they catch you without your badge and your gun, they can't see it. They're going to shoot you like they shot the cop up in motherfucking White Castle. A black hero. A racist to who? I cannot be racist. I don't have the power to be racist. I do not have the power to be racist. How?
You're a hypocritical racist.
How?
You just judged him by the color of his skin.
I asked him where he was from. You're not smart enough to talk to me. You're not smart enough to make it.
You just judged him by the color of his skin.
White boys.
You're a racist.
He thinks he's one of these white boys. He does. No, my doctorate degree says that I'm educated.
What?
That's what my doctorate degree says.
Doolittle,
my
right?
juris doctorate. My juris doctorate. And my business degree say that I'm educated. Wow. So write the ticket. Why are you wasting my time? Why are you wasting my time? If I was racist, I'd call you a cracker. Cracker. Yeah, I just did it. I just did it. Yeah, I'll be that. I'll be that. You treat me like a nigga, I'll call you a cracker. How about that? How about that? How about that? Hey, take out your phone and record.
Stand there. You're getting assaulted. You're not walking around.
Stop touching me. Stop touching me. Stop touching me. So why are you touching me? Why are you touching me? Why are you touching me?
Because you're moving.
Don't move. Don't start walking around.
Let's go.
You're a fucking sellout.
Yeah.
You know who calls me?
Who calls
You know who calls me?
Who calls
Cops call me to talk about how racist this piece of shit system is. That's what I get in my inbox. Fucking cops complaining about other cops. Like, oh, I know you're right. Why don't you stand up and do something about it? You're surrounded by these white boys. You'll never get promoted. They'll get promoted. You'll never get promoted. All this shit for one man. For one man. I'll be that. You treat me like a nigga, I'll call you a cracker. How about that? You treat me like a nigga, I'll call you a cracker. Take that.
Damn.
Dickhead.
Here you go, sir.
All that size, you should have did something better with your life. I was an All-American.
You can put this on the wall.
I was an All-American.
With your work.
No. I got. You know what's the other one I could put it next to? The one where they were taking my bullhorn and I said, "Fuck the police," and I say that proudly, surrounded. Fuck the police, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Patrick Edmonds Jr., a police officer, will not be charged in the shooting of a woman who hurled racial slurs and threatened to attack him with a pair of scissors. He will not be charged in this case. Here to give us more insight on this story is Dr. Ua Thompson. Dr. Thompson, the tables in this story are turned a little bit because the officer is African American and the woman who was shot and killed, who was threatening him, is a Caucasian lady. Give us the backstory on what happened here.
Certainly, Nietzsche. This story is a break from what have been considered normal routine, seemingly, in American law enforcement concerning law enforcement involved in shooting of individuals. However, in this case, it is a black officer, as you have said, who received a 911 call and was responding to that call at the hotel where a woman was reportedly exhibiting erratic behavior with a pair of scissors, threatening and people, as well as hurling all kinds of demeaning and derogatory language. He shows up and he commences to try and talk her down from this situation, to try as best he could to de-escalate the situation. However, she began to exhibit even more erratic behavior and then charged at Officer Edmonds with the pair of scissors, which I would note, Nietzsche, at that point, it became a matter of life and death. He had no other choice but to use deadly force in subduing her. And so the district attorney and all of those involved have exonerated him and have ruled that he followed procedure and protocol. I think Mrs. Rupert's cousin was concerned that excessive force was used and that he could have used something of a taser to subdue her, but his response, and I agree with him, she was on drugs and he had tried to help her, he had tried to get her some help. And oftentimes when individuals are on drugs, these drugs can make one very psychotic. And I have seen and read where people have even moved forward against a taser several times on certain types of narcotics. So I think he did the right thing by defending and protecting himself.
It's interesting in this case because we're in the midst of what we often talk about is an epidemic of hearing cases where an unarmed black person was shot and killed. It seems like something different every single month. So this story is interesting because the tables are flipped here. And on top of that, you have a situation where there's a possibility that this woman was under the influence in some capacity, and it ultimately resulted in her death. So just speak to that, what you feel like the pulse is of the community, and this being a situation where the roles are flipped. Give that to me in about 30 seconds or less, Dr. Thompson.
Well, the roles are flipped, not just that he's a black man and she's a white woman, but the roles are flipped in that she had a weapon, and most of these innocent black lives that have been taken did not have a weapon. And I think that is the stark contrast between this case and the others.
A Navy veteran in the hospital after a night on the town. He claims that he was targeted because of his race. Welcome to News 8 at 5. I'm John McKay.
And I'm Cynthia Seguirre. As Dallas police investigate that violent beating, the victim is demanding action from a popular club. Let's go live to Damon Fernandez with the latest. Damon?
Well, Cynthia, right now, both Dallas police and club management are investigating exactly what happened back here in this club. Jalen Bell claims he and a friend were already leaving the strip club when things took a very violent turn. His eyes black and bruised, ribs fractured, and body in serious pain.
My whole body is sore.
And Jalen Bell claims they're injuries he suffered after being attacked by a group of security guards here at XTC Cabaret in Dallas early Sunday morning.
People think it can't happen to them, and it can happen to you. And it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling.
During a press conference with his wife Logan and civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, the 24-year-old Navy vet and college student claims he was at the strip club with a friend who was visiting town. They were on the club's second level, preparing to leave when his friend had to use the restroom. Bell says while waiting, a patron in the VIP area put out a cigarette in their drink. That led to an argument. He says security first grabbing his friend.
The security guards told him, go on or you'll get it too. And he says, please just let my friend go. Next thing you know, he was grabbed by the trachea, slammed to the ground, and they began choking.
Bell claims it was a group of white security officers who severely attacked him while hurling racial slurs. With so many cameras around the club, Bell's lawyers asking any video of the assault be preserved and the security officers' names revealed.
I want to see these guys brought to justice, but I still have a lot of love in my heart.
Shortly after Bell and his attorney wrapped up a press conference outside the club, an XTC Cabaret manager and worker called police to the business. The company released a statement saying, XTC Cabaret Dallas has a zero-tolerance policy for any kind of discrimination. Our club has a very diverse clientele, equally diverse management and staff, and has been in business a long time. Our initial understanding is that this incident involved what was deemed to be an unruly customer. We are continuing to investigate the incident internally and ask the community to be patient until that is concluded. And Bell's attorney says he is planning to file a lawsuit against XTC Cabaret and each of those security guards once their identities are revealed.
Racist graffiti is found in the bathroom of the North Suburban School.
This can't happen, and we need to be an example. Being the most diverse school, we need to be an example for other schools that this isn't okay. There is no supremacy or anything. We are all one.
Pictures of the graffiti popped up on social media Wednesday night and show the words "whites only" scrawled on the stall door in a first-floor girls' bathroom at the campus juniors and seniors attend. Nothing was reported at the school for lower-classmen.
my mom first heard about it, like, then everybody in the family just started texting me everything was okay. And I told them everything was okay, but they still came and got me.
The discovery not only prompted concerns for student safety, but also an investigation by local officials who at this point don't know who's responsible for the offensive message. School officials notified parents by email about the incident. Warren Township High School has a total student body of roughly 4,200, of which 30% Latino, 10% African American, and 5% Asian.
We have a really great student body that's supportive of one another, so when we get racial slurs or anything that's hateful in nature, we take it seriously.
This cell phone video captures the school's principal talking to those students who staged a sit-in in reaction to the vandalism, which some here blame on the results of the recent presidential election.
I guess it all kind of goes back to like Trump's election. If this is like only, he's not even president yet, and this is already happening.
Regardless of the reason, these students say they're not going to tolerate hate.
Our school mirrors the population of Illinois. That is absolutely unacceptable, and we were not standing for it today.
Although many in this school community say they are disappointed and concerned about this message of hate, they say it's also a great opportunity to talk about tolerance and inclusion.
Governor Cuomo has ordered an investigation, and Syracuse University is condemning racial slurs found on the 4th and 6th floors of a residence hall.
Now that comes as those with the student organization on campus met to discuss how to move forward. News Channel 9's Adrian Smith was at tonight's meeting and has this update.
According to the university, racial slurs turned up here at Day Hall, specifically on the 4th and 6th floors.
Any form of prejudice, we have to tackle it as a community.
And now one student organization discussing ways to move forward.
We thought that we were the best organization to present this atmosphere for students to come in and talk about ways we could fix issues on our campus.
The Juvenile Urban Multicultural Program, also known as JUMP, it's a group where college students mentor local middle and high school students.
We're not just going to be expressing our feelings tonight. We're actually going to express solutions, reactions, and things that we can, steps that we can take, to not have this happen in the future.
Those who attended shared their feelings about the incidents, and they want SU to take action. Most of them looking for communication and transparency.
And the issue that really lies with us, regardless of the slurs, is that that issue was not presented to the campus as a whole.
It was people that I know, friends of mine, that brought this to my attention, and when my friends were upset, it made me upset as well.
And Monday night's meeting is just the first step.
We here, which is a start, but we just don't need to be here. There needs to be a next step.
All of them determined to push for change. The Syracuse University Residence Hall Association will be hosting an open forum tomorrow night from 8 to 10. It will be held in Lyman Hall, room 132, and everyone is welcome to attend. Rob?
Adrian, thank you. Syracuse University, as Department of Public Safety, wants anyone with information to give them a call at 315-443-2224. In a letter to the SU community tonight, the vice president for the SU Student Experience saying in part, quote, "We condemn all racist language and actions. We remain focused on being a welcoming and inclusive campus environment, free of intolerance, bigotry, and prejudice."
And racist graffiti greeting Starbucks customers.
This is disgusting. I feel sick to my stomach.
New at 11, the concern over the way this local store handled it. The vandal targeted both sides of a highly visible Starbucks sign in Federal Way, and one concerned customer tagged Starbucks on Facebook asking why the hate speech wasn't covered up immediately. Now, she spoke only with Cairo 7's Gary Horker, and Gary, she considered covering it up herself.
She did. She figured she or somebody at Starbucks should certainly take action immediately and cover up what was on this sign. She said the hate speech on it could be clearly seen by everybody in the drive-thru and everybody driving by Pack Highway South. She didn't want a racist graffiti symbol here to be associated with a company she respects.
It hurt my heart.
When Char Bennett saw the racist statement painted on the sign of her local Starbucks, she tagged the company on Facebook.
This is disgusting. I feel sick to my stomach.
I was shocked.
Both sides of the sign had been tagged, and at 9 a.m. Halloween morning, it was in full view for thousands of passing cars on Pacific Highway South.
If I would have had something to cover it up, I would have.
Char alerted the Starbucks staff.
She said that they'd already cleaned it off, and I said, well, it's back on there.
So whoever tagged the sign might have returned to do it again.
Felt like I was in the twilight zone because people were just going about their business.
Shar reached out to Starbucks again, urging them to remove or cover up something she said was upsetting customers and passersby.
Stop with the coffee orders, stop what you're doing. Like, there's nothing more important than getting that off of your sign.
Eventually, Federal Way police took a report and the staff cleaned the statement off of the sign.
And I did get a message from Starbucks that they dealt with it.
But in the right light, the outline can still be seen.
Light hits it, you can still see it.
Shar says she's a huge Starbucks fan and her anger is directed at the vandal and not at the company, but she figures there should be a protocol when hate speech appears on their property.
Afterwards, I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do, but I'm glad I did it.
Well, back here live at Federal Way, we reached out to Starbucks corporate, didn't get an immediate response, but we understand this location's been tagged before. Federal Way PD is hoping to catch the vandal. It's worth noting that other jurisdictions around us have treated similar tagging as hate crimes.
The search continues tonight for who broke in and spray painted racist graffiti all over a local barber shop. Emma Henderson spoke with the owner tonight and has a look at how community members are showing their love. Emma.
Christy, you can see in this picture there are huge letterings in a racist word plus the words "get out," taking up more than the entire length of one wall. But the owner has decided to keep his doors open to spark conversation and to make sure the vandals don't win by taking away business.
You know, you always hear about it, but you never think that it can happen to you. And by me experiencing it, I'm like, wow, this really did happen to me.
The owner of Finishing Touch Hair Pros knew something was wrong when he pulled up to work Monday afternoon because the door to his business was pried open. Then he turned the corner.
It's just sad that racism still exists in this day and age and time. And it's just sad to say that I don't really think it's going anywhere. And we're not going anywhere either.
The owner chose not to show his face because it's an open investigation. He filed a police report and decided the vandals don't get to win. They don't get to shut down his business, so he opened Tuesday like normal, with the spray paint still on the walls.
I left that up and didn't fix it right away for a reason, because I wanted people to see the reality of what's really going on out here in this world. So that's why I left it.
A regular customer took a photo of the wall and posted it on Facebook Friday afternoon, causing it to go viral. His post leading multiple people to come into the business for the first time to show some love to their neighbor.
We're not going anywhere. It's not going to deter us. It's just sad. Minor setback for a major comeback.
Insurance is going to cover the repairs, while police are still looking for the vandals, and since going viral, people in the community have offered to pick up paintbrushes themselves to cover the hate as a community.
For a community to embrace you like that, and we never knew that the community, accepted us like this, like they have, it just means a lot. It makes us feel good, and it just makes us feel welcome now, and it makes us feel a lot better.
And he has a message for the vandals.
Put down the spray paint can, pick up a Bible. That's what you need to do.
The owner plans to have a big community event to celebrate once the store is fully repaired.
Put down the spray paint and pick up the Bible. I love
right.
that final thought there. What was it like while you were in there with the customers coming in and that in the room?
Well, actually, there were lots of new people coming in for haircuts or just dropping by to show their support. They didn't really want to talk on camera. They just believed that they were doing the right thing for one of their neighbors.
It's great to see the community come out like that. Thank you, Emma, for this story. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the only racist graffiti or actions we've seen this year. In March, 19 employees at the UPS distribution center in Maumee say they were working in a hostile and racist environment. They reported being called racist slurs and being passed up for promotions. In February, someone tagged a home with racist graffiti. The home was for sale at the time. The realtor believes the graffiti was targeting potential buyers. And in January, 7 workers filed a suit against the GM powertrain plant in West Toledo, the employees claiming a culture of racial harassment and bullying.
New tonight, continued grief for the family of Tatiana Jefferson, the woman shot to death in her home last month by a Fort Worth police officer. Loved ones tell us that her father, Marquise Jefferson, had a heart attack and died earlier this evening in Dallas. Now, we heard from him last month during his fight for rights to plan Tatiana's funeral. In a statement this evening, his family said he died of a broken heart, and they asked for prayers.
Well, it's one of the most popular street names in America, but in one place it's become a source of major controversy. Let's check in with Natisha Lance for more on this city squabble.
Well, Ron, you go to most major cities across the country and you'll see a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name on highways as well as roads. So that is unless you're in Kansas City. Voters there decided to remove his name from a historic boulevard and change it back to its old name. The Paseo, as the street will be called again, is also historic. The 10 miles of road in the city's mostly black east side was the first boulevard in the city. It dates back more than 100 years. 70% of voters decided to keep the history and strip MLK's name from the street, just 9 months after the city council voted for it. Civil rights leaders had pushed for more than a year to find a way to honor Dr. King in one of few U.S. cities without a street named for him. According to the New York Times, most of the black residents in the area never wanted the name change in the first place, despite some who thought critics of the change, led by the group Save the Paseo, were motivated by racism. More than 1,000 roadways bear Dr. King's name. At least 955 are in the U.S., including Georgia. That's according to National Geographic. Atlanta's Martin Luther King Drive winds through the heart of the city. It was dedicated to King in 1976, not far from where he grew up and preached at Ebenezer Baptist Church. It is reportedly one of 75 other streets and roads in Georgia that honor Dr. King. Now, those in Kansas City wanting to save the Paseo say it's not about race. They want to find some other way to honor Dr. King in Kansas City.
Heartache comes to the two women in Imitation of Life because of their daughters. And for the black woman, the great heartache comes when her daughter decides to cross the color line and pass for white. The director, John Stahl, was determined to find a white-looking black actress to play this light-skinned young black woman. They turned their eyes to New York City, and that's where they saw Freddie Washington. And Freddie Washington was known as the girl with the boy's name, the black girl with the green eyes, the black girl who looked white. Early in her career, she had been urged to pass for white, that she would have a chance at a big career, and she refused. She said, in essence, she could never be anything other than what she was.
There's nothing to be scared of. We're friendly. I'm cute, right? No, man. Go ahead. Man. Go ahead, man. All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, and we back on the forecast. And I want to say RP to the brother Myron Flowers, to the brother Terrance Bridges, and all our people who have been unjustly murdered. And at the end of the day, it will keep happening until we stop it. We have to understand, we are the only group in America that actually pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. And we can do it again. The problem is we have to learn how to protect what we build, because they need us to be in a submissive position to them. Not only can they not sustain without us, they feel like if we ever get out of this position, we're going to do to them what they did to us. But that shows you their mindset, and they can't be reasoned with. The love for ourselves, the love for our children and their future has to be enough for us to start taking action. That has to be enough for us to put aside our petty differences and get on code to do what we have to do. Now, we can't afford to be in the same position, having the same arguments and the same discussions 50 years from now. And this time when we build our own institutions designed to protect us and designed to put us in successful positions, we have to be ready to protect it, because believe me, they will come. They're going to come and try and destroy it. But this time we have to be prepared. There's no talking. There's no reasoning. As Patrick Henry told the dominant society, give me liberty or give me death. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.